My name is June O'Sullivan. I'm the Chief Executive of the London LEYF Foundation. I run a social enterprise childcare organisation which is made up of 38 community nurseries, and we have developed a particular community model to try and meet the needs of families from disadvantage with other families in one central spot. We do that because there's a lot of research that says that actually community nurseries are well integrated, inclusive families actually has a very good outcome educationally and socially for all children, but particularly for disadvantaged children. So in the UK at the moment, the childcare market is very mixed. So a high proportion of services are provided by the private sector. So they're quite expensive, and they're also in areas of affluence. So in cities like London, which are of high cost, what you're seeing is instead of an increase in those children accessing those services, you're seeing a decrease in children accessing those services. The second thing is, for some years now, I think 3 governments actually now, so if you go back to the Labour Party, then the Coalition, and now the Conservatives, they have been pushing for the idea of free childcare. Free doesn't really quite do it. So it's free to the parents, the point of access, but actually it's not free to the providers, because again, it's very poorly funded. And so it struck me that there was a space in the marketplace for a kind of childcare that was high quality good, but actually created a place where children from all families could be educated and cared for together. And I couldn't find one like that in the current space. So we either had the state sector, which is reducing because of its sustainability issues, you had schools, or you had the private sector. So it struck me that there must be a way of creating really high quality childcare for poorer families that provided them with the same educational outcome. And so what we've been trying to do at LEYF is subsidise more and more of those children. So currently we subsidise half of our children. People often call it the Robin Hood model, so that we charge the going rate. We're not the top end, we're not the low end, we're kind of the middle end. The going rate of the cost of childcare to enable us to create enough money to subsidise children who wouldn't be able to afford it. And so you might talk about a free offer, but actually it's not free, because if we didn't subsidise it, those children couldn't afford to come because we can't afford to pay for them. This is an organisation with a history of survival, a history of flexibility, a history of kind of entrepreneurialism. So we were formed as a health organisation in 1903 at a time when there was high maternal death and there was lots of what you might call real poverty, i.e., insufficient food, large families, and London wasn't that dissimilar in that there was quite a lot of different immigration patterns through the city. And so they formed this to kind of educate parents as to how to cook for their children, how to make a little go a long way, and how to look after their children, with much more emphasis on care than on education. And then the organisation sort of evolved. So in 1923 they were the first organisation to set up a training agency and train nursery staff to become qualified. They used to charge for the fees. It was a shilling a week, but for the second child it was less, and for the third child it was free. During the Second World War they started to actually build nurseries or translate nurseries. So here at Marsham Street, which is our head office, we had one of the first nurseries, and that's because the women had to go to work because the men were at war. After the war, there was still that carried on till about the 50s, when at that time I think women were more encouraged back into the home and the nurseries shrunk. And what happened then was we had a development of play groups that came sort of in the 60s and 70s. In the 80s we became a company limited by guarantee. And in the 90s there was a shift towards the workplace nurseries, and so we had some of those. Then it began to expand, there was lots of support around language acquisition, and there was quite a lot of money flowing into the organisation. So this organisation follows a pattern really of how the world shapes regarding needs in children, and in a sense has got an entrepreneurial kind of fever about it.
When I started, London LEYF Foundation was known as Westminster Children's Society, because we were mainly in Westminster with 9 nurseries only. And in the last couple of years, that's when we started doing our expenditure and expanding, and we've had the majority of our new nurseries on board. Most of our nurseries, I think 8 at the moment, have been graded outstanding by the Ofsted inspection, which is really, really good. With the organisation with the highest number of outstanding, by percentage that is. With our children, obviously, with the LEYF Foundation Stage curriculum, the main concentration from 0 till 3 years is on the prime area, which is the communication and language, physical development, and personal, social, and emotional. These 3 main areas are the kind of the foundation for children's learning and development. So you will notice the focus in the baby room and in the toddler room would be around those 3 main areas. So you'll notice lots of engagement, lots of talking, discussion with the children, developing their vocabulary, introducing a new vocabulary. As you move up to the 2 years old, it's more about their independent skills, getting to feed themselves, drink from a cup instead of a beaker, as well as developing that friendship, making a bond with the key person, being able to deal with the separation from the parent as they come in, and being able to manage their behavior and tantrums and things like that. So this is all part of the personal, social and emotional development.
I am a mum. I've got a 2.5-year-old son. His name is Joshua, and he is here at the nursery in Masham Street. This is his first experience as a nursery, and it took a bit of time for him to adapt, like all kids, but now he's loving it. Price-wise, I think this is the most affordable nursery in the area. I had to look around, and obviously childcare is not cheap, but Leafy Ease is the most affordable, yes. The whole way it's set up, it's great because you can really see that they take care of your son, which is the most important thing I think for a mum. When you leave your son to someone for the whole day, you need to be sure that he's fine. And he loves it.
Leaf in itself, they keep the concept around 4 values. So they have nurturing, inspiring, fun and brave. So when you look at that 4 key values, you want to implement it into that one child and making sure that everyone's equal.
Currently, all the LEYF nurseries are good, are outstanding. And actually we exceed the London averages, and now we exceed the UK averages. So we can show that actually you can develop a model that provides good quality childcare to all children in the areas of high deprivation, and that's a model I think we should be scaling, because if we can do it and we can demonstrate it's sustainable and we can demonstrate it has the right outcomes for children, I can't understand why we haven't got social enterprise nurseries just about everywhere.